Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to our Blackline Make the Move to Modern Accounting webinar. We're very excited to have Ian and Svetlana present Blackline to us. I'll hand over to Ian, but just before I do that, I just wanted to remind everyone that you'll be able to submit your questions for Q&A that we'll handle at the end of the session. If you have got a question around Blackline or anything on the presentation, please feel free to drop it in the questions area or in the chat area, and we'll answer all the questions at the end. Thanks again for joining us. I'll hand over to Ian now. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much, Shamendra, and good morning, everybody. I hope everyone has a coffee and is ready for a productive presentation this morning. So, without further ado, I'd like to get into it. We're going to be talking about making the move to modern accounting this morning. As Amendra said, my name is Ian McDougall. I'm an account director here at Blackline. Joining me today is Svetlana Lonkarovich, who will be assisting with a view into the solution. We're really happy to be partnering with our friends at Octane and are pleased to support them in their conversations with you going forward. So, if there's one thing we can all likely agree on, it's that traditional manual accounting processes are just not sustainable. It's because the modern business environment is more demanding than ever on accounting. There's more compliance and regulatory oversight. There's more business model changes from digital disruption, and there's more demand for analytics and business partnering. The traditional manual accounting process, it just drains too much resources, takes too much time, and creates unnecessary risk and exposure. So accounting is often problematic for companies doing it the way it's always been done. And it's just not sustainable because it tends to be chaotic and has got time constraints. So why is that? Let's break it down a little bit. So from staff accountants to controllers and CFOs, you have a lot of different people involved across various and often inconsistent processes. These processes are made harder by the fragmented technology and disconnected data from multiple ERPs, banks, and other sources, which require a huge amount of manual repetitive work. Further, this means communicating updates and progress with a lot of meetings, phone calls, and emails, which drains time and raises the risks and chances of something getting missed. As new regulations come down, they're going to consume an increasing share of your team's time. And of course, reporting requirements are diverse and complex as well. So most organizations I speak to use Excel to manage their financial close, and they use shared folders to store and share documents, and coordinating is all done by email. So all of these tools, processes are all fragmented into silos. They're error prone. They're all heavily dependent on manual work by your accountants, and they can't scale and grow with your organization. All of this happens on a deadline. So it's often a mess of people, technology, process, regulatory and reporting, and communication. And it's all held together by manual processes. So, a couple of areas of reflection for you. What do you think are the biggest issues in your manual accounting process, and what is it costing you? Where and how are you spending your time at the moment? And if you had more time, what would you do with it? What should you be doing if you had more time? So we can see that manual accounting is just not sustainable. But how do we measure the real costs of manual accounting to an organization? Let's take a quick look. Firstly, it's time consuming. It's no secret that manual accounting at month end costs valuable time. Accountants often burn time compiling, validating, and processing recs, journal entries, allocations, and adjustments. There's often little visibility into who's doing what, which means even more time is wasted waiting on others to learn the status of month-end tasks. Here's a real quick example of a common process that can be eliminated with automation. As you can see here, a leader is sending an email to a subordinate to inquire about just one month-end task. So this takes 5 minutes to compile, 15 minutes awaiting a response, 2 minutes to review, and around 15 minutes to refocus. All up, in this example, Kim and Pat wasted 67 minutes of elapsed time when an automated dashboard would have given instant visibility into task status. Distractions like this are enormously time consuming. So research is telling us that a distraction at work takes us an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get our focus back on track. Time spent negotiating this manual bottleneck could be spent identifying exceptions to further mitigate risk, or perhaps working on some value-adding projects, or even partnering with another area of the business. Today, organizations spend over 10 working days a month on close processes. By adding automation and a bit of behavior change, this can be reduced by 30 to 40%. eBay was able to reduce their close from 10 days to just 3 by implementing Blackline's automation. And according to Senior Manager of Finance Systems, Tom Hoover, it was easy to get a sense of the efficiencies gained with Blackline. Secondly, manual accounting is risky and it elevates the chance of errors. In a recent survey of over 1,100 C-level executives and finance professionals worldwide, 55% shared that they're not entirely confident that they can identify financial errors before reporting results. And nearly 70% of leaders said that they'd made a significant business decision based on inaccurate financials. Worryingly, of those closest to the process, i.e. the finance professionals themselves, just 38% said that they trusted the numbers. Beyond financial statement accuracy, processes that are too reliant on human intervention raise the spectre of fraud, and manual accounting is usually a factor. Dependencies on spreadsheets and other files that can be altered allow too much manual control over things like journal entries and adjustments. In fact, there's an 80 to 90% higher incidence of fraud in organizations with material weaknesses. Thirdly, it's costly. And with so many organizations having a high degree of manual accounting, reducing the cost of accounting operations is critical. The average cost to run a finance and accounting team varies significantly across industries and company size. Regardless, there remains a significant difference between bottom performers and top performers. The best achieve around 3 times the efficiency of those at the bottom of their cohort, typically due to automation, standardization, and centralization. So when Coca-Cola moved to Blackline in 2015, they were able to reallocate 40% of their team that was involved in manual accounting. And this enabled them to realize millions of dollars in efficiencies in the years since. Finally, repetitive period-end processes take their toll on staff morale. The inability to attract or retain accounting talent due to lack of job satisfaction creates a substantial operational risk. Blockers to talent hamper the ability of organizations to execute new business initiatives or to meet new requirements. It also raises financial statement risk due to a lack of proper analytical scrutiny and spikes the cost of hiring and training replacement staff. Manual processes reduce employee engagement, lower productivity, and ultimately decrease the value each employee is able to drive for the organization. Conversely, accountants who are enthusiastic to use the latest technology or are looking to rethink and reinvent business processes, susceptible to be lured away when they're bogged down with manually matching transactions or extracting data from their ERP into spreadsheets or manually entering journals. A recent poll showed that a disengaged employee can cost the business 34% per annum in productivity. That equates to $28,900 a year for an accountant on an $85,000 salary. So Aviva recognized that they were struggling to retain talent, and they found by implementing Blackline, they were able to streamline processes and reduce the workload of their overtaxed staff. And that's according to VP of Finance, Amanda Lamb. So how do these 4 problems affect you? As you've heard, pains felt by frontline staff are directly related to pains for management and in turn the business. Too many disparate systems prevent you from seeing where you stand in the close. Non-uniform processes lead to a control risk. Detail-heavy spreadsheets increase the likelihood of mistakes and escalate your risk of financial inaccuracy. Manual effort keeps your team spending a disproportionate amount of time on work that's repetitive, and there's not enough time for those analytical activities that they really want to sink their teeth into. Taken together, This creates a disengaged workforce, threatening your ability to retain and attract top talent. So, if our goal is to align to the goals of the C-suite, the pains of traditional accounting must be mitigated. And look, it's important to note at this point that it's not that traditional accounting processes are necessarily broken, they've just failed to modernize. The way forward is modern accounting, and modern accounting is unified, automated, and continuous. And what's great about modern accounting is it can be closer than you think. So I want to take a quick look at each of these pillars in a bit more detail. So modern accounting is unified, meaning that your systems and data are integrated for a single source of the truth, and your processes are standardized for consistency, efficiency, and control. Modern accounting is automated. You can reduce the time you spend on what you might characterize as busy work by automating your manual, repetitive activities so that you can free your team to focus on strategic objectives that matter most to the C-suite. Modern accounting is continuous. We can execute accounting as it happens and deliver real-time information and analysis to inform decisions. So Blackline's platform removes the silos and visibility barriers to create a collaborative environment to complete the close. So I'm now delighted to introduce Svetlana, who will show us how Blackline's platform is uniquely positioned to deliver modern accounting to your organization. I will pass control to you, Svetlana.
Thank you, Ian.
You should be able to share.
Can you see my screen, Ian?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. And what I'm going to do now is just take the concepts that you shared with us on time, risk, cost, and morale and translate it in the real world. So what Blackline offers the finance organisation or accountants is a single workspace or a single place to do all of the work that they need to do just by logging in. So what you see in front of you is a login screen, and I am actually working from home, so you can actually be working from anywhere. So right up front, we are saving time just in commuting to the office. So there's one little time saver. The next thing is, once you are logged into Blackline, you are presented with the work that you have been assigned. So at the very beginning, you'll see a dashboard, and I've logged in as what you would be called as a preparer. That's a single role. Blackline is a unified platform. So what this means is that all the data for the finance team is in a single place. Just as Ian said, it's a single source of truth. And Blackline is monitoring the roles that access the information through built-in segregation of duties. So you can toggle between the roles. So we have many different roles that can be assigned to you, but Blackline will adhere to segregation of duties in the sense that when I complete a reconciliation, I won't be allowed to approve that same reconciliation. So that's the idea there. But as you toggle between the roles, the work that you're responsible for appears on your dashboard. So the very first thing you'll notice is that we have a workflow status for the tasks. Now, Ian mentioned that we need to consider saving time, and this is a huge bottleneck in some organisations because we spend a lot of time, or we see that finance teams spend a lot of time following up checklists. So they're actually tracking activities in the financial close, and they're using a checklist to do that. And you might find that if you have an organisation that's got many locations, they may be spending up to 30 minutes a day during the lead up to the month-end close so that they can close out critical accounts and make sure that everything is done in line to their schedule. But what they're doing is they're taking time away from their team and they're asking for the updates. So it's not a real-time update. So what Blackline is doing is tracking that activity for you, and it's visible on everybody who's responsible for their tasks in their own dashboard. So you'll see here that we've got a workflow status where we've got tasks that come in assigned to an individual as not prepared all the way through to system certified. And then we've got the same concept against reconciliation workflow status. So Blackline is automating as much as possible. And one of the things that it's taking in a unified platform is information from your finance systems, such as your trial balance, and loading it in so that your organisation is able to start work from the moment they log in. So this is their workspace and they're presented with what they need to do. We've also got measures based on due dates, and we use colour coding to alert individuals to what they should focus on. So the dashboard is really focusing individuals on where they need to work today. They're not spending any time looking for paperwork, documents or comments and trying to find out what's going on. We also have other key performance indicators for managers who may want to look at the health of the organisation. So let's just say we've got a shared service set up and we've got tasks that have been assigned to multiple different organisational business units, but one person's in charge. So from the very beginning, I can actually see what hasn't been prepared for each of those organisations. These dashboards are configurable to any organisation and based on whatever KPIs they want to address. Another KPI is aging open adjustments by accounts. So Ian mentioned Coca-Cola and a couple of other organisations that once they introduced Blackline, they did reduce risk and they improved the efficiency for their teams. But one thing that they got to see straight away is the age of their open item adjustments as individuals were reconciling accounts. So we always get bogged down with month end and sometimes we just don't have time to close out the open item adjustments and they carry forward and then they age. Now, one of our organisations was able to get an immediate ROI the moment they switched Blackline on, and they could see, they could identify an aged open item that sat in a bucket well above 365 days. So all that meant was that they needed to address it quickly, and unfortunately they were exposed, so that was their risk and it cost them a write-down. And from that moment, they achieved the return on investment just because they put all their reconciliations and connected their general ledger trial balance across with Blackline. They were able to do that. Now, imagine if I'm also the manager of the finance team. I have a different role. So as a finance controller, you'll notice that I have a different dashboard. It refreshes. And it gives me different KPIs. Because I'm overseeing the entire organisation, what's happening is that my KPIs are mostly around the workload. So again, it's back to making sure our people are focused on the tasks that they need to focus on and also assisting them if you can see a bottleneck. So you'll notice my team over here, I've got Tom Green. He has got more tasks than anybody else, and I could step in and reassign those tasks to other people within the team. I could also track my tasks by priority. So if I've got priorities assigned to tasks and the green is telling me I have tasks out there that I didn't even put a priority against, so that could be a problem. I might want to go and address that and give some priority there so that we can focus on what's important and only resolve issues and look at exceptions, which is where we need to be. But we also have the ability of taking a look at the task by type and then, of course, region. So this information, because it's on a unified platform, we can continuously load it. The real-time updates is scheduled based on your needs, and it means your staff do not need to wait for any responses or documentation. They can get to their work faster and make smarter business decisions, reducing time for strategic decision-making, if you like. And then we've also got the ability to take a look at reports and send them across to individuals that are following up things that didn't happen during the month-end close. So with our reports, we have delivered reports, and we also have the ability to produce a reconciliation status report, if you like, especially as we lead up to our audit. And we've also got the ability to make sure that we can have a remote audit. So we're always on top of all the movement within our organisation, and we are addressing issues as they occur. One other report that I would like to raise is when we're doing month end, we have got a lot of people that are raising required adjustments. So this is typically a journal that needs an adjustment that needs to be a journal. So there will be an approval process and an investigation process. But what happens is when we are working in a spreadsheet, those adjustments get lost in the madness of a month end, the deadlines that we have to meet. So when they get lost, they can also get forgotten. What Blackline is able to do is age those adjustments. So as we're reconciling in Blackline and we're creating a required adjustment that will then become a journal, this report becomes a daily go-to report for finance controllers, because they want to see what adjustments can be made before they close out their books. And you'll notice that we've got some adjustments that are actually aged well beyond 366 days. So this is considered a financial risk that they want to reduce. And this is a report that is reviewed and refreshed daily by most of our customers, so that they actually track everything that has been raised for an adjustment, and they are assured that all their journals have been posted. Now, one other thing that I do want to bring up is that when you do go to a unified platform such as Blackline, what's happening is that you get access to a whole network of amazing finance team members. So this is what we call our community. And that community is accessible just by going across and in your login screen, clicking on the community link, and that opens the door to a networking group of people who share information. They actually go ahead and help you with any questions that you might have as you begin your journey with Blackline. So Blackline is a workplace for our accountants, but it's also a community that shares better business processes and improvements. And we also have quite a few seminars available. Basically, any ideas that our customers suggest gets put back into the solution. So it is truly a solution that is adopted and made for the accounting team or the finance team. Now, lastly, before I hand back to Ian, is that I wanted to just point out that these dashboards are quite, they refresh as regularly as you need to, and they also allow you to access the information. I'm just flipping back to a preparer so that I can show you what my world would look like. I don't leave the screen. I can actually access my workload from one screen, and the way I do that is clicking on the assignments that have been made to me, and we have an action button that allows me to just simply go into the task and do the work that's been assigned to me. That's how quickly I can complete the activity that I'm required to do. But more importantly, if I was a new starter, a graduate, or somebody that was onboarding new people, the adoption of Blackline is super easy. We use standardized templates for both our tasks and our reconciliations. So what it means is, from an audit perspective, from a new starter perspective, we have the ability to get people up and running really quickly, because everything that they do is embedded in the system. So this is what we would consider a control, and the policies and procedures across the board for our organisation. They're stored in one place. So any documentation regarding tasks or reconciliations, we can put them in one place. And as your finance team complete their tasks, they're able to add comments, add documents and hyperlinks. And once they certify that task, there are no changes. So there is no risk of error. They can't make any changes. And then when we are being audited, our auditors can see what has been certified and they have access to all the information around the work that was completed. So they're no longer spending time in your office and they're no longer spending time asking for documentation. They actually get the information through their own login ID. We have Australia Post, one of our customers who were using Blackline for quite some time, and what they found just by default of applying or using Blackline was that their audit cycle became less in time. So it went from 3 weeks, potentially 5, down to 3, and then down to 4 days. So all it meant was that their auditors would have access. So we've got a role for an auditor, audit manager, and an external auditor, so internal, external, and they can see a limited view of what has been certified only for an organisation. And when they go into a rec that has been completed, the audit cycle becomes quite easy in that they know what the rules, policies, procedures were for that particular reconciliation. But also our finance team, our new starters, know exactly what needs to be done for that reconciliation that's been assigned to them. So the workflow that's embedded in Blackline is visible from the beginning. Each role knows what needs to happen for the particular assignment that they were given, whether it was a reconciliation or a task. And in here, you'll see under every account assignment or task assignment, we have settings with our automated workflow and ownership. And then, of course, the policy, purpose, and procedure for the assignments that need to be completed, making it super easy for our team to onboard any new starters and also improving the morale of individuals who have embarked on a career in finance. They're using a solution that enables them to focus on being strategic. So what Blackline is enabling them to do is move away from data entry, spreadsheet management, and task follow-up management, and move right into a role of being that business partner where you have people that can now advise on new investments, faster cash flow analysis, and let's just say new acquisitions, organisations who are looking to do acquisitions, they have more information at the fingertips and more talented people that are able to advise them solidly on what direction to go. Blackline can onboard new companies quickly, and with the help of our partners, the change management involved is quite straightforward in that we take everything that you do and we put it on a unified platform and we work with you through our partner network and of course our community network. And then the Blackline University is also available for more learning. And from that, Ian, I will just hand back to you. And
thank you very much, Svetlana.
Let me just.
If you...
Yep.
Okay,
I've lost your name.
Share my screen.
Yes. Can you request sharing?
Let me see. I can make myself the presenter.
That's all right. Ian, gotcha.
Got me.
Yeah.
Okay. I will share my screen. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Svetlana. I hope everyone enjoyed that brief but insightful look into the Blackline platform. Svetlana touched on a little bit around the strategic value of Blackline, and that's what we're all about here. We're all about aligning the accounting and finance team to strategic goals for the organization. So that means not just aligning to what the CFO wants to do, but aligning to what the CEO and the board as a whole are aiming to do for the business. So how do we get there? Well, as I move slide, it's a journey, and making a move to modern accounting, like any digital transformation project, it really is a journey. So we're going to take a look at that a little bit further. So it may seem daunting to go from your current state to modern accounting. However, with Blackline and our partners like Octane, we can get you there in no time at all. So as you can see, what I really want to emphasize here is all the teams that we have available to you are here to help. Not just internally here at Blackline with teams like our solutions and value teams, but also with our partners like Octane. And it doesn't stop after Blackline goes live. We're going to continue to work with you and Octane to optimize the usage of your platform. And because let's be honest, there's always something more that you could be doing. So finally, I'll leave you with this. So Blackline is a truly global organization. We've helped over 3,200 customers worldwide move from, current state to modern accounting by enabling them to do their accounting work better, faster, and with more control. So over 200 of these customers are supported by our local offices across Australia and New Zealand. We've been recognised by Gartner as a leader in our category for 4 years in a row. In fact, Gartner says that Blackline is in the highest quartile for customer experience and overall product capabilities. Independent research has identified that Blackline's customers realise an ROI of 2.67x their spend on our cloud accounting platform. So look, change is scary. I get that. Change management is honestly one of the biggest hurdles I need to address in my role. But traditional accounting is just not sustainable. And we're looking forward to connecting with you and learning about your broader finance function to see how you could benefit from using Blackline. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the audience today. I believe we have questions coming through on the chat. So Amanda, if you would like to pose any questions that have come through from the audience today.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks, Svetlana. That was really good and interesting. Yes, we do have a few questions that have come through. Firstly, what ERP systems does Blackline work with?
Sure, I can take that one if you like. So Blackline works with absolutely any ERP system on the market today. We have a couple of pre-built connectors, but mostly we work with a series of APIs and SFTP connectors. Not only do we connect to any ERP system, we connect to subsystems as well. So things like, our payroll systems or bank statements or anything like that we can bring into Blackline. Do you want to add anything to that one, Svetlana?
Yeah, sure. So we are ERP agnostic, and as Ian mentioned, we do have pre-built connectors for some ERPs. But when we're ERP agnostic, all it means is that we've got the ability to consume your financial information required for the work that you're going to do in our single unified platform. And we can do that via API, FTP, any mechanism. So agnostic is the correct term, Ian.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Any other questions there, Amanda?
Yeah, thanks for that. The other one is, how long does it take Blackline to deploy? Like, what's the timeline you're looking at?
Sure. Look, the short answer to that is it depends. And I'll qualify that by saying there is a number of different ways that we can deploy Blackline. It depends on on how much you're consuming of our platform, and it also depends on the amount of time that your teams have to give to a project like Blackline. I've seen projects done in as little as 5 weeks, but I've also seen projects done in sort of the 3-4 months onwards. In the instances where it takes a little bit longer, it's generally because teams are working on multiple different projects, or they have other things like audit or something like that crops up in between, and they have to leave the Blackline project to go and work on other areas. Average, I would say it would be about 9 to 12 weeks to deploy Blackline.
And Ian, I'll just add some more to that. With Blackline, it's not like a normal implementation of an ERP. It is, you literally set it up to improve and make a process efficient. So from there, you grow. We have quite a few clients that do have implementations that start with reconciliations, And then once they adopt Blackline, they introduce other parts of the process improvement for their financial close. And that could include a matching concept where we're bringing in data and matching it off and then creating a result and putting it onto a reconciliation. So it's actually what Ian mentioned earlier. It's also a journey. Although you might implement Blackline from up to 6 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever it might be, what you're actually doing is continuously improving and adding more process improvements and efficiencies to your process. So you kind of never leave it alone like you would in ERP.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Sounds really good. One final question is, how easy is it for the teams to adopt the Blackline platform?
Sure. Svet, do you want to have a crack at that?
Yeah, I will indeed. So, Amendra, it is super easy because what happens is it's like a follow your nose solution. And when I say follow your nose, it is guided. Ian mentioned that we collaborate with you, we guide you, but once you have your login ID and the assignments that are given to you and the embedded controls that are already there that I showed you, so we have policy, purpose and instruction, there's very little onboarding requirement. We train you during the implementation as well because you're also configuring. So you'll have somebody that's called what we would call a super user, and then from that they would then share their knowledge. But then we've got our community and we've got our Blackline University as well. So individuals can go and do some self-learning. But user adoption is quite amazing. From a past life, we went from Excel spreadsheets and the struggle of understanding everyone's macros if someone was missing, to moving across to Blackline, where if my team member was on holidays, I could pick up and do the work that they were assigned as part of the same team and continue on as if there's been no hiccup or no gap in the process, if you like. So user adoption is actually quite smooth, quite easy, a lot easier than a normal huge implementation of, let's say, an ERP or a CRM system.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I found it. Sorry, I found it. My experience to be the same. It was almost like driving an old tractor and moving into a brand new Tesla.
That is
Excellent.
so good. And oh, sorry, Ian, just with the morale part, the adoption also fits nicely, Ian, into the morale that you mentioned, because some accountants do get fatigued with maintaining their spreadsheets and data entry, like data import and looking for errors or exceptions. Once they get a flavour for Blackline, they actually get rejuvenated in their actual career. So it's exactly what you mentioned earlier, Ian.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the community before. I mean, I'll be honest, 6 years I've spent with Blackline, and the community is the thing that I am most proud of here. Folks, it's your gateway to 250,000 other accountants in the same place as you are moving to modern accounting. You can pose questions, you can go through the forums, you can, do some learning in your own time. The community is monitored by Blackline, and it's really where we get all our ideas for our R&D going forward. Really do encourage you to take a closer look.
All right. Thank you. I think that was all the questions that we had today. So thanks once again, both Ian and Svetlana. It was really good, really interesting to have a chat as well. So I'll close this webinar now. If anyone has any further questions, queries, or seeking further information, please feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'll be happy to help out. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.